Brought to you by Penguin.
The Portrait of a Lady by Henry James. Read by Simon Harrison.
Introduction. First-time readers should be aware that details of the plot are revealed in this introduction. The Portrait of a Lady, 1881, is one of the great novels. It has such a scope and range of character and place and tone and feeling, and covers such a span of years, that readers are progressively amused, engaged, touched, moved, challenged by its increasing complexity, and many are drawn to return to it over and over again. Its rustling, quickly moving, clear-voiced heroine, the young American in Europe, Isabel Archer, is an intensely attaching character, as nobly idealistic as George Eliot's Dorothea Brooke in Middlemarch, 1871–72, as youthfully egotistical as Jane Austen's Emma Woodhouse, and so restless and full of contradictions that the novel has a force and reach of implication stretching beyond its controversial, much-discussed ending. The portrait also has one of fiction's greatest villains. Among James's works, only the novellas Daisy Miller, 1878, and The Turn of the Screw, 1898, rival it in popularity, and its achievement outstrips those relative miniatures in variety, richness of texture, and architectural vastness, to borrow a phrase from the novel. It is also highly approachable, witty, discursive, and expansive in the way of the Victorian three-volume novel to whose shape it superficially conforms. The portrait is partially responding to, finding a mode for, its historical moment. After the American Civil War, 1861–1865, in the midst of America's Gilded Age, at a time of increasing industrialization and democratization, it represents a dialogue between Victorian certainties and modernist doubts, dealing as it does with the new displacements created by railways, steamships, and telegrams. In this novel, printed here in a version of the text that would have been familiar to many of his early readers, James brings together in a fresh way different worlds, perspectives, traditions, values, negotiating between what could be broadly seen as the European past of social fixity and hierarchy and the American future of industrial and territorial expansion. For all the relative familiarity of its modern situation, the portrait would not have such a continuing hold on us, and would not have inspired moral philosophers, if it weren't also confronting larger, more general, philosophical questions, in a way that can recall an earlier work, Samuel Johnson's Rasselas, 1759, a great, bleak fable whose eponymous hero fails repeatedly in his quest to discover the secret of a happy life. Johnson's sense of the choice of life is less open than James's, especially for women, and his feelings for the vanity of human wishes is considerably grimmer. James's interest in the portrait, which has more sympathy than Johnson with romantic yearning and aspiration and the desire to live in some full or abstract sense, centres above all on the place of the imagination in human life as one tries to find a path or a place in the world. For the aspiring characters of Rasselas, at the end, of these wishes that they had formed, they well knew that none could be obtained. A tempered version of Johnson's disappointing lesson still applies in James. The meeting between the adventurous, inexperienced imagination, here embodied by Isabel, and the real, finite world of the concrete and the chillingly other can be a painful clash and a dangerous one. Isabel's imagination is described early on as ridiculously active. It's an imagination that kindled at the mention of great deeds. The girl had a certain nobleness of imagination which rendered her a good many services and played her a great many tricks. Her outlook is self-consciously optimistic, James tells us. She had a fixed determination to regard the world as a place of brightness, of free expansion, of irresistible action. It is her soaring imagination which appeals to her invalid cousin, Ralph Touchett, and leads him to arrange for her to receive a sizable inheritance. "I call people rich," he says, "when they are able to gratify their imagination. Isabel has a great deal."
Sample complete. Ready to continue?